Hello everybody, welcome back to part 2 of Do You Remember When We Were Kids? If you enjoy the past 2 episodes, please subscribe and like. Let's begin. I looked up. The hospital curtain at the foot of the bed was moving. Just a little, swaying like something had brushed past it. There was no draft. From somewhere far away, I heard it. Creak, creak, creak. The rhythmic groan of chains under strain. I froze. Did you hear that? I whispered. Hear what? Lily panted. The nurse adjusting the IV frowned. Sir, can you move back a bit? We need space. I stepped away from the bed, heart pounding. The sound was louder now, layered over. The beeps and murmurs of the hospital. Creak, creak, creak. It was wrong. It didn't belong here, in this sterile, bright place. It belonged outside. In the damp, in the half-dark. The curtain rippled again. For a second, between one flicker of the overhead light and the next, I saw something behind it. Not hospital equipment. Grass. Tall and bending. I blinked hard. The curtain showed only shadows. You okay? The nurse asked without looking at me. No, I thought, but I nodded. I backed towards the corner of the room, away from the curtain, eyes locked on it. My breath came shallow, my throat dry. The air smelled like antiseptic, and underneath it, rain, wet earth. Rust. The monitor above Lily's bed let out a sharp, shrill beep. The nurse cursed. Fetal heart rate dropping, she snapped. Get Dr. Reed now. Everything sped up. People flooded the room. Voices overlapped. Lily's eyes went wide, panicked. What's happening? She gasped. I grabbed her hand. It's okay. I lied. They've got you. It's okay. The doctor appeared, calm and brisk, barking orders. Someone adjusted the monitors. Someone else turned Lily on her side. For a moment, the curtain at the foot of the bed billowed outwards, as though a strong wind had hit it. It brushed against me, It was wet. I stumbled back. My palm came away, damp and streaked with something brown, green, that smelled faintly of mud. No one else seemed to notice. "Get him out of here," someone said. "Maybe a nurse, maybe a doctor. He's in the way." A hand touched my elbow, steering me toward the door as it opened. The monitor beeped a steady, reassuring rhythm again. "Hurry, stabilizing," someone said. "Good, that's good." In the hallway, the chaos dropped away to a dull hum. I stared at my hand. There was nothing on it. No mud, no moisture, just faint lines, pale scars from old paper cuts. I pressed it to my face anyways. It smelled like skin and sanitizer. For a moment, standing there, I felt utterly untethered, like the world around me was a thin overlay that could be peeled away to reveal something else underneath. Something green and wet and waiting. "Wrong," a voice whispered right beside my ear. I spun around. No one was there. The hallway stretched empty, shiny floor reflecting harsh light. "Why are you taking so long?" the voice asked. It sounded like Lily. It sounded like me. It sounded like someone else entirely. Layers. Echoes. I pressed my back to the wall, sliding down until I was sitting on the cold tile. "This isn't mine," I whispered. "Whatever you are, whoever you are, this memory isn't mine." Silence. Then far away, the faint squeak of chains. I squeezed my eyes shut in the darkness behind my eyelids. The red swing waited. I don't remember falling asleep. At some point, someone shook my shoulder, and I woke with a crick in my neck. "Mr. Hart," a nurse loomed over me, smiling. "You can come in now. Mum and baby are doing both fine." The words felt unreal. "Baby," she laughed. That's usually what comes out at the end of all that drama. I followed her back into the room. Lily looked exhausted, but alive. Dark circles under her eyes, hair plastered down, was something small and swaddled. "Meet Zoe," she said, voice hoarse but proud. "Your niece." I stepped closer. The baby was impossibly tiny, face screwed up, lashes dark against her cheeks. She opened her mouth in a silent yawn. It was touch and go for a minute, Lily said quietly. Heart rate dropped. They almost took me in for a C-section, but she decided to cooperate. Emotion surged up, tangled and raw. Relief, terror, something else too, something colder. "I thought you were going to die," I said before I could stop myself. She snorted. "Not today, I'm too stubborn." I reached out a finger. Zoe's hand, no bigger than a walnut, closed around it. Reflexively, her skin was warm, soft. A strange sensation washed over me. A double exposure feeling. For a second, as I looked at her, I saw something else. Another small hand, limp and cold in mine. In the mud, my heart stuttered. "Wrong," a voice murmured inside my skull. I jerked my hand back. Zoe started to fuss, face crumpling, a tiny whale building. "Nice, Uncle Noah, you already made her cry," Lily groaned. "Sorry," I said stiffly. "Sorry, I just need some water." I backed out of the room. In the hallway, I leaned against the wall, breathing hard. My vision fuzzed at the edges. "Get it together," I told myself. "She's fine, they're both fine. The swing is just what?" An intrusive thought, a misfired neuron. Someone else's experience my brain had decided to steal. "Not yours," the voice agreed. "Never yours." I pressed my palms into my eyes until colours bloomed. "Then whose?" I whispered. The answer wasn't a word. It was an image. The swing, the field, the moment of the fall. Caught and held, extended far beyond what physics would allow. Frozen. The child midair, hair splayed, mouth open in a scream that never finished. The sense of pause, of selection, like an index finger trailing along a row of books. Not this one. Not that. This. A mind. A life. A narrative. Something someone had reached in and taken it. Taken the memory, not the death. Borrowed it. Tried it on. Found it didn't fit. Returned it. No, not exactly. I staggered to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and stared at myself in the mirror. "You're not real," I told my reflection. He stared back, eyes bloodshot, jaw clenched. "Or maybe," the voice suggested, "you're not all yours." In the days after Zoe's birth, things didn't go back to normal. They didn't get dramatically worse either. There was no sudden slide into full psychosis. No grand revelation. No demon bursting through the ceiling to claim ownership of my memories. What happened instead was small. The swing started showing up in more places. A reflected shape in the bus window, flickering behind my shoulder. A child's crayon drawing on the wall of the cafe. A red swing set under a purple sky. The background of an ad on a website, blurred behind smiling stock photo parents. I'd blink, and it'll be something else again. A tree, a chair, a bench. But each time my stomach would drop before my rational brain caught up. At night, the dreams continued. Sometimes I was pushing Lily. Sometimes I was being pushed. Sometimes there was no one on the swing set at all. Just the seat moving back and forth, as though an invisible child was playing. Occasionally, I heard voices, a chorus of children's laughter, distant and hollow. A woman's scream, sirens. Once in a dream, I saw a row of swings stretching off into the horizon. Some were empty. Some held blurred figures. As I watched, one of the figures jerked, slid off, and vanished into the grass. The swing kept moving, as though nothing had happened. "Which one was yours?" I asked, though I wasn't sure who I was asking. "All of them," the voice said. "None of them. Stories, little Noah. We move them around, test them, try them on, Sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't. Who are you? I asked. Wrong question. It replied, almost gently. Ask who you are. I woke up with tears drying on my face. I started researching memory, not just the pop psych. Your childhood is unreliable articles, but deep dives into case studies, false memories, implanted memories, shared delusions. People who remember crimes that never happened. Siblings who both swore they'd been in the same car crash, even though hospital records showed only one had ever been injured. I found one story about a woman who vividly recalled her brother drowning in a lake. When they were 8, the exact sensation of the water closing over him, the long, awful wait for the paramedics. Except her brother was alive and well. They'd never even been to that lake. Probably a dream, the article concluded, or a story she'd heard about someone else. Maybe. But the description of her certainty, her inability to shake that visceral reality of the memory, that hit too close. I tried to talk to Dr. Patel about it. She listened, nodding thoughtfully. These cases suggest that memory is reconstructive, she said. Not a perfect recording, but a story we tell ourselves over and over. Edited a little each time, sometimes the edits are drastic. What if the story isn't ours? I asked. What if we're telling someone else's story? She tilted her head. What do you mean? Like, what if there was a kid somewhere who really did die on a swing set, and somehow that memory landed in my head instead? Like a stray signal, or a ghost, she supplied, half smiling. Something like that, I said. She was quiet for a moment. It sounds like you're externalizing, she said finally. Making the memory into something other, something else done to you, so you don't have to own it as a product of your own mind. That's understandable, especially if it's distressing. It feels other, I insisted. It told me it was wrong, that it wasn't mine. The memory told you that, she clarified. I paused. Yes. She tapped her pen against the page. Our brains are capable of extraordinary things, she said. We can experience parts of ourselves as external voices, doesn't mean those voices are literally other entities. It just means your mind is using a narrative device to communicate with itself. You make it sound like I'm a novel, I muttered. In a way, you are, she said. A living story, constantly revised. That night, I dreamed of rows of books on shelves. Some spines had names I recognized. Childhood friends, former co-workers, people I'd seen on the news once and never thought of again. Others were blank. A pale hand slid along the row, pausing here, 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 pulling one out, putting it back, skipping mine. That one, the voice said. Not ready yet, too tangled. I woke up with a sentence echoing in my head. You are not the only place this has been. I wish I could say there was some grand movement of revelation where everything snapped into place. That I discovered some old news articles about a real child who died on a red swing. That I found a long-buried family secret that made it all make sense. I didn't. What I found instead were fragments. A forum post from years ago. Someone describing a childhood memory of watching their cousin fall from a swing in a field by their house. How they called for help. How the cousin had lived, but with a permanent limp. The details weren't quite right. The swing was blue. The fall happened at noon, not dusk. The cousin was a boy, not a girl. But as I read it, my heart pounded in that familiar, nauseating way. Another thread elsewhere from someone who swore they remembered seeing their sister die on a carnival ride. Only the sister was alive. I'd never been to that carnival. The writer described the smell of popcorn and oil, the sound of the sirens. Their therapist had told them it was a panic attack. The stories accumulated, a quiet, uncanny chorus. Memories that didn't line up with reality. Deaths that hadn't happened, but were mourned away. You're collecting them, Lily said one afternoon when she found me scrolling through one of these threads on my phone while we sat in her living room. Zoe asleep on her chest. Just reading, I said. Morbid, she sniffed, adjusting the baby. You always did like sad stuff. Do you ever remember something? I asked slowly, and then find out it never happened. She frowned, like Mandela effect stuff. Berenstain Bears versus Berenstain. The Monopoly guy having a monocle. More personal than that. She was quite quiet for a moment, eyes going distant. Sometimes I dream you died, she said finally. Shock ran through me like ice water. What? She shrugged one shoulder carefully, so she wouldn't jostle Zoe. Like when we were kids. It's not the same every time. Sometimes it's a car accident. Sometimes you fall off the roof. Once you fell into a pool and no one noticed. I hate those dreams. I wake up so mad at you for making me sad. I swallowed hard. Do they feel real? Yeah, she said softly. Too real. But I know they're just dreams because you're here. Being annoying and googling dead kids on my couch. She smiled to take the sting out of it. Do you ever have dreams where I die? She asked. I opened my mouth. The swing flashed behind my eyes. Her bent neck. Her empty stare. No, I lied. Not like that. She studied my face. You sure you're okay, Noah? You've been off, even for you. I'm fine, I said, just tired. It's okay if you're not, she said quietly. I didn't answer. Here's what I've come to think. On the nights when the creak of the invisible chain keeps me awake, maybe Dr. Patel is right. Maybe this is all my brain. My tangled knots of anxiety and half-remembered movies and stories. I overheard and dreams I took too seriously. Maybe I'm building a mythology out of neurological noise. Maybe. But there's another possibility that sits beside that one, equal in weight. What if memories aren't as neatly contained as we like to think? What if they leak? What if, when something intense happens, a death, a terror, a moment that burns itself so hard into one mind that it scars reality a little bit. That experience leaves an imprint, a pattern, a story. And what if, sometimes, at random, those stories land in other brains? Not as ghosts or possessions, but as faint echoes, as misplaced files. Most people maybe brush them off as dreams. There's a weird deja vu. They shake their heads, say that's odd, and move on. But What if, in some cases, the fit is too good? What if the story slots into a space that was waiting for it? I don't know whose memory I carry. I don't know if somewhere there's a person who really did stand in a field at dusk and watch their sister fall from a red swing to her death. I don't know if, in their mind, the grass was green, the sky as purple, the mud as cold. I don't know if they feel a strange blank space where that day should be. Some vague sense of loss without detail. I don't know if they wake up sometimes and think, that's weird. I know something awful happened once. I just can't remember what. All I know is that, for whatever reason, it ended up in me. And something in that memory knows it. Sometimes now, when the nightmares reaches the moments of the fall, it changes. The swing freezes mid-arc. The child hangs in the air. Slowly, his head turns. Sometimes it's Lily's face. Sometimes it's mine. Sometimes it's blurred, features shifting like bad reception. Not yet, the voice says. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong story. The child's eyes, whoever they belong to, meet mine. Thank you, they whisper, and then they fall. I always wake up before they hit the ground. A week ago, I dreamed something different. No swing, no field, just bookshelves stretching into the distance, like in that earlier dream. Rows and rows of spines, some blank, some with names. One jumped out at me. Lily, heart. Another. Zoe, heart. Another. Noah, heart. Beside them, other names I didn't know. Other lives, other stories. The pale hand drifted along the row, pausing over mine. Not yet, the voice said, but soon enough, everyone gets their turn. Turn for what? I asked. To end, it said simply. To be written, to be shelved. It slid my book out an inch, then pushed it back in. Until then, it mused, you can borrow. Try things on. That's what you're for. throat, somewhere between hysterical and relieved. Because if that's true, if my mind is a library of borrowed stories, then at least it explains the feeling that has haunted me ever since the first time I remembered Lily dying. That my life, as I recall it, is not a single clean narrative. It's a collage, pasted together from bits and pieces. Most of them fit well enough that I don't notice the seams. But every now and then, something slips. A page from someone else's book lands in mine. A memory that isn't mine settles behind my eyes. And when it protests, when it whispers, all I can do is whisper back, I know. I still see the swings most nights. Sometimes it's empty, moving gently in the wind I can't feel. Sometimes there's a child on it, blurred around the edges, genderless, ageless, mid-laugh. Sometimes in the dream, I'm the one standing behind it, hands on the chain, ready to push. In those dreams, I make myself let go. I step back. I watch the swing slow, little by little, until it hangs still. No fall, no scream, just silence, and the soft, rusted creak of metal settling. I wake up with tears drying on my face, and the taste of rain in my mouth. In the morning, I texted Lily something mundane. A meme, a photo of my coffee, a dumb joke. She sends back a string of emojis, a picture of Zoe drooling on her shirt, a complaint about diaper prices. Every so often, she says, out of nowhere, remember when we used to play in that parking lot? God, that place was ugly. And I write back, yeah, I remember. Because I do, now. Both things sit in me at once. The ugly, cracked asphalt behind our house, and the green field with the red swing in the middle of it, waiting for a child who never quite belonged to me. Neither will ever fully go away. They coexist, like two versions of a story layered over each other. One true, one wrong. Both mine. Now, whether I asked for them or not. That is the end of Do You Remember When We Were Kids? Horror story by TSP, also known as Two Shadows Production. If you want to see more videos like this, like the video and subscribe to the channel, because then we know. If you'd like to share more horror stories, true ones, then send them over to the email in the description. And we will see you tomorrow for another scary